comfortable. Bed's extremely comfortable. I stayed 3 nights and had a great night's sleep for the entire stay. Enjoyed the Starbucks coffee in the tranquil courtyard. We'll definitely stay here again when traveling to Columbia.
Go to Marriott.com.
News, analysis, opinion. We're 93.9 The Eagle, KSSC, Fayette, Columbia. A free service of Zimmer Communications.
Eagle News Time, 6 o'clock.
An agreement.
The board has voted to approve those changes to the public comment procedure, fundamentally restructuring exactly who can speak and when they can speak at public board meetings.
A lot of people were upset with the board and wanted them to table the policy vote, saying it seems like they had a lot more to figure out.
Parents spoke and they were not happy with the policy being proposed tonight, including one parent who is really not happy about it being passed.
And we're going to hear the audio of that one parent specifically that they were referring to. ABC 17, KRCG, KOMU, all doing live shots last night, Columbia Public School Board meeting, and they're shaping, and I'm not talking about our TV outlets here locally, I'm talking about the way school board members are positing this. We're changing the way we do public comments. They are clamping down. We know last year when the school board president just ended the meeting, falsely lied, accused a parent of being derogatory. And you can go back, you can watch the video. This woman was not being derogatory. The school board president ended the meeting. The room was in shock. People didn't know what was going on. This continues a pattern of behavior. I'm aghast this morning. My goodness. Just bold and bodacious, completely ignorant. Just ignorant. Speakers, from what I understand, there was not one speaker who got up and was in favor of limiting, clamping down, changing, whatever word, whatever phrase you want to heap on this. Not one person spoke in favor of this. Taxpayers, parents, and listen, even if you don't have kids in the Columbia Public School District, you have a say-so in this. Not one. Nobody said, hey, I think this is a good idea. As a matter of fact, a couple of folks that were against it, according to one of our local TV outlets, teachers within the Columbia Teachers Union. That's like saying even CNN is criticizing Joe Biden. Even members of the Columbia Teachers Union were saying, this is not right. Here's that parent that we heard in the opening and say, especially this parent. Parents obviously not pleased. Taxpayers not pleased. I'm not pleased about this on any level. And I don't care what it is, whether it's a Jefferson City Council meeting, whether it's a school board meeting in Columbia, whatever it is. Listen, you go to the state capitol, you have rights to public comments in these sessions and hearings. The school board saying, nope, 30 minutes. That's it. Here's that really upset parent. And, man, she nails it on the head. Unfortunately for Columbia Public School District, they have a disgusting, nasty reputation that precedes me as it relates to communications. And I will tell you this, the person who's in charge of their communications and our exchanges over the years, one point said that I had spoken lies. And I said, okay, tell me what lies they are. Could not tell me what lies they were. That's the communication with the Columbia Public School Board. Also, I'm going to present Exhibit B, Your Honor, when we had the superintendent, Dr. Brian Yearwood, on. It's well over a year. We're asking about CRT. He said it's not being taught, but you don't. That's not the question. Are you in favor of it? It was probably one of the most fascinating interviews that's ever happened here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. They have a poor history. Exhibit C. And this all goes back to what they did last night. They don't want to hear public comments. They are smug, indignant, don't want to hear what you as a taxpayer has to say. Don't want to hear it. And the stories from parents. Matter of fact, back in April, whenever some of the folks in the school board race, it was amazing going to fundraisers for people like Andrea Lisenby and Adam Burks. And these teachers almost, matter of fact, one night I was at Shakespeare's Pizza. Almost literally, more figuratively than anything, teachers coming out of the woodwork to say, hey, Branden, yeah, it's really, really bad within the school district. And this is not an indictment against all teachers. There are some fine teachers, but they feel suppressed because of things that happened last night. They're going to limit public comment. This is the one parent especially that's frustrated. She nails it. She is winner of the week, 8:35 on a Feel Good Friday.
I want you to understand what it's like outside of your culture, because it's nothing like this. It's not like this. I never went to a superintendent for help and was told I couldn't talk to him, ever.
Consistent consistent. And my heart hurts. I thank God. I really do. This morning I'm coming into work, and I put my hands together and looked down, and then I stopped because I was driving down 63 and thought maybe now is not the time to put my hands together and look skyward. And thank God that I don't have any grandkids in the Columbia Public School District, but I want to, John, I'm going to draw, if you don't mind here, I'm going to draw more the journalistic aspect of this. We know my opinion on this, but as a taxpayer, any taxpayer, I mean, this is just disturbing. And I would think from a journalistic point of view, think, no, the public has a right to comment on this stuff. Am I wrong here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. 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 One of the school board members speaking in favor of clamping down on taxpayers, having the very people that they vote in to represent a taxpayer-funded organization, whatever you want to call it, Columbia Public Schools, funded by taxpayers, saying, yeah, but you can only 30 minutes. But they are going to let you to speak at 2 meetings in a row and up to 3 meetings in a row. One of the school board members last night, Columbia Public School Board, speaking in favor of clamping down on public comments.
Meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst.
It's not far off, man. Just insane. It's stunning. It really is. It's just incredibly stunning. And again, I go back to this. You might get tired of hearing me say it here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on KWOS and 93.9 The Eagle, but that mind said, no public comment. We're going to clamp it down to 30. You've got almost 20,000 students in the Columbia Public School District. Columbia Public School, 30 minutes comment from parents. 20,000 students almost, and they want to give you 30 minutes? It's just incredibly sad. But that whole mindset, you go back, whether it's the president speaking in front of a swastika-like red-colored backdrop with Marines, leathernecks in the background that aren't supposed to be there, and him yelling at you, whether it's mayors that are upset because you have illegal immigrants coming to their sanctuary cities. You see, we draw the line from point A to point B. It's these progressives. It's just disgusting, man. I feel my heart really, really does hurt for these parents and really for taxpayers. Limiting public speech is just the worst. It's almost like the next thing, say, well, now the press isn't allowed in the room. It's just not going to work. Mr. John, but it really is. And here's the thing. And I think here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, we don't do the whole, fear-mongering. Oh, my God, what's next? And we know the stories. We know what's happening in schools all across the country and even here in Mid-Missouri. I mean, school districts say, well, what should we do about our bathroom policy? What about the transgender policy? And are we going to force you? Are we going to force you? And it's not just, hey, you want to be referred to as a chick or a dude? That's fine. That is your choice. But you are not going to force me to address you in a certain way. You're not going to force me to do it, and that's what it's about. It's not these, we got to fear this is next. These things are happening. It's for real. And, John, you're right that these – can you imagine – stop for a minute and think. The heartache that some of these parents got to be feeling, especially – now, listen, if you had a school district – and I think we've got some fines Callaway County schools, man. Very few issues there. And I'm guessing whenever there's public comments, people can handle their business in 30 minutes. But when you've got a school district and a school board that is as dysfunctional. You look at the amount of times they've been sued. You look at their past history, which leads up to a well-deserved reputation of poor communication. It's stunning that, 30 minutes. Most places, that's fine. As troubled as this school district is and as troubled as the school board is, 30 minutes, that's the most disturbing part. And that fear, it's real. It's not some talk radio fear-mongering kind of thing. Can you imagine the frustration? I think even back to the time when, and John, you used to have a kid that was young. They're all grown up now. But I remember like when my kid, anytime I had to go to the school and talk to administrators, whatever it was, never had to have that fear that I was going to be turned away or that my comments were going to be limited. Never had that. But I've seen these parents. I've been working with these parents for about 2.5 years. And this is no exaggeration, seen them cry because they won't be heard. Or even worse, they get dismissed as, well, what you have to say doesn't matter. And I'm telling you, it's through and through. It is woven into the fiber of leadership at the Columbia Public School District. We've seen it. It is unfolded here on the show, and I'll go back to our conversation with Dr. Brian Yearwood a year and a half ago. No CRTs. We have the receipt saying you paid for the training. You paid for this stuff. Dude was right here on the phone with us, and he didn't get the question. That's frustrating for us from a journalistic point of view, but from parents. 874-9390. Missouri teacher pensions are also giving millions to ESG companies and campaigns. And Sandy, she's right on. And to think, we had a chance to put 2 better board members on the board, and people didn't come out to vote. She is exactly right. In that Columbia Public School Board race, I was stunned at the results. Yeah, that's the thing. So it doesn't matter where you are in mid-Missouri this morning. Be fortunate, number one, that your child is not in the Columbia Public School District. Feel fortunate if you're not a taxpayer to the Columbia Public School system. Feel fortunate in that. But these things are real, and you hear all the stories about these things. There was one I was listening to Sean Hannity on the radio station yesterday, and he was playing audio of a teacher in New York telling me, throw bricks. When you throw bricks at people physically throw bricks. Now, it was not a metaphorical thing. Throw bricks. That's what's happening in schools. And so when we think, but that stuff doesn't happen here, my goodness, it does happen here. Welcome into the show. John Marsh, producer Hannah, Stephanie Bell off for a few days. My name is Branden Rathert. Before we move forward, do want to get into today's daily DC rundown. 2007. I was working at a radio station in Boise, and I'm going through my archives this morning, and this came up. This was an exchange on CNN.
How would you fix the Department of Homeland Security? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com. Or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Is Anna Nicole Smith still dead, Wolf?
Yes. We're going to updating our viewers coming up shortly.
It was right after the death of Anna Nicole Smith, and this one commentator is making fun of his own network's coverage of the death. Is Anna Nicole Smith still dead? And Wolf Blitzer, this vapid idiot. Yes, as a matter of fact, we have updates on that coming up. John, can you confirm, is the Queen of England still dead? All right. Thank you, man. We appreciate you being on top of it. Will you keep us updated? Thank you. We appreciate that. Coming up a few minutes from now, maybe some good news coming out of Ukraine.
Some brought to tears as they welcome Ukrainian soldiers to the Kharkiv region. After more than 200 days of war, they are finally free of Russian occupation.
All right, a little bit of celebration in Ukraine yesterday, but and that gets us into today's daily D.C. rundown. U.S. leaders from President Joe Biden on down are being careful not to declare a premature victory after a Ukrainian offensive made big news yesterday. It forced Russian troops into a messy retreat into the north. Although there was widespread celebration of Ukraine's gains over the weekend, U.S. officials say now why this matters is because, the gas prices that Joe said wasn't his fault, but then that he was fixing. He said, well, it's not my fault. Gas prices are going up. And then several months later, look at what I've done. I've lowered gas prices. What the hell are you talking about, man? So that's why this matters and has a lot to do with it. And, of course, the people there and what they are going through, wheat prices, things like that. Moving forward here underneath the circus tent, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Delaware are going to be hosting the final multi-state primary elections of the 2022 midterm. That goes down today. That might take precedence over coverage of a dead queen in England for a few hours tonight on the cable news networks. Joe saying Americans should come together for a new national purpose. His administration's effort to end cancer as we know it. This is, and listen, you can't go wrong when you are campaigning on something like this. But for him to stand up yesterday and, in effect, take credit for what's happening. People, they campaign on, the terroristic acts of 9/11 and this and that. Really? Meanwhile, I'll tell you what he hasn't been talking about. Inflation, potential recession, housing prices, gas prices, grocery prices. He hasn't been talking about the cost of a can of Progressive soup for a while because it's not convenient. You know what is convenient? Expect the latest J6 hearings to be coming up, of course, soon prior to the November 8th election. 56 days out. Just minutes out from Christopher Arps. He is joining us here on the show. A well-known Missouri political name, maybe running for governor. That's coming up 5 minutes from now.
Hi, I'm Becky Arps, and I am so excited that you get to experience a bit of the thoughts I hear every single day. Enjoy.
The always enthused Becky Arps. And the slightly more enthused Chris Arps. ChrisArps.com. Welcome to the show. Hey, I want to get right to this. Bill Eigel is the name being tossed around for potentially running for Missouri governor 2024. And I want to get your thoughts on this because, again, when I think about the top two people when it comes to Missouri politics, you are in the top five.
Wow.
But no, you're the best. That's why we have you join us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert. There is producer Hannah.
Good morning.
Mr. Marsh is here, too. Good morning.
And your co-host is across the seas, right? Across the ocean.
Stephanie Bell. Guess where she is.
Well, we're Facebook friends, so I know she's eating fish and chips somewhere. Right?
Yeah. And I didn't. I didn't know she loved the royal family that much. The queen dies, and off she
goes in the tent.
Off she goes, and we cannot wait for her to come back. She'll be back on Monday. I was hopeful you were going to be at this roast last night. It was Missouri Soybean Association and, of course, Scott Fawn's Missouri Times, the 30 under 30. It was so cool. 30 people under the age of 30 being honored for their work in the political world. And it was also the roast of Caleb Rowden, who's joining us 1 hour from now. He's going to be here. Highlights. Listen, anybody who can sit there and be the target of a roast, I give you points, especially following this past legislative session. You know, there's a lot of material out there.
Yes.
And I will tell you this.
Yeah, I was very interested. And first of all, I'm surprised that you weren't one of the 30 under 30 being honored last night, but that's a whole nother issue.
He's about 30 years too late.
But, that was very interesting. I saw the other day that Bill Eigel had an event exploring the possibility of running for governor. The conventional wisdom is that he's putting this out as a feeler to see if there's any real interest for him being governor, but he's really eyeing the lieutenant governor spot. And the conventional wisdom that I'm hearing that if he is in the race, that he will split the conservative vote with Jay Ashcroft, and that will allow Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe to slip in and win the nomination. So that's what I'm hearing, Mr. Rathert.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe and Bill Eigel in the same room last night at the Missouri Soybean Growers Association at this event. I didn't get a chance to see if they were all chummy and stuff. And then the other guy that we're talking about here, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, was here yesterday morning. Great conversation, by the way, regarding voter ID, recreational weed, and all that stuff. But the best line that I heard last night, so all those three big names, very likely I'm putting my money more on two of those folks, and then I'm going to put extra money on one name in that race right now. What we surmised to be a race.
Sure.
So all three of those folks yesterday having something to do with us recently. Line of the light last night, and I can't remember which politician gave this line. Man, it was good, by the way. If you've never been to a roast in person, these things, whoo, because it's one of those, you don't know, am I supposed to laugh?
Yeah.
It is a roast. We know why we're there. Caleb knows why he's up on the stage.
Well, you remember, we're old, Brandon, so you remember the 70s when they used to have the Dean Martin roast?
Oh, yeah.
That was my first experience of being roasted. And my God, you got to really have thick skin to just have person after person after person roast you. And I would have loved to have been there to hear. Bill Eigel was there, right?
Yeah. So there was.
Did he roast him?
No, he didn't roast him. He was the target of a lot of stuff, I got to tell you. Now, and I did not get to stay for the entire thing. I was hanging out with City Councilman, Jefferson City Councilman Ron Fitzwater, and I left his son.
Oh, I love Ron Fitzwater. Great guy. Son is a state rep, state senator now.
His son very likely to be a state senator. And so I was sitting there with Travis Fitzwater's father watching this unfold. Line of the night, and I wished I could remember who gave it. But they were talking about Bill White, who lost Southwest Missouri, lost to a conservative caucus member. Bill White apparently owns a bunch of bowling alleys in the Joplin area. And you talk about the bowling alleys, ball hits the pin, then it comes to this thing. Before it comes back up to you, it goes through a ball polisher.
Mm-hmm.
Or as Jim Lemke calls it, a Bill Eigel. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. And John Marsh. So Jim Lemke, basically kind of the money guy behind the conservative caucus kind of thing. Is it kind of is that how you tab that?
Yeah. But, well, that surprised me. What surprises me that Jim Lemke made a joke like that, even though it's a roast. He's a very, very strong Christian and says his faith or propels his faith out, publicly, being very proud of that. I don't have a problem with that. I'm surprised he said a joke like that.
Now Jim Lemke didn't say it, but it was somebody saying that.
Joke.
Yeah, as Bill White and the bowling alley ball polishers, or as Jim Lemke calls it, a Bill Eigel. I was like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And that probably wasn't even the worst, man. I mean, it was just insane. But Caleb Rowden, he's here at 7:35, and see kind of what he thought of it.
I will be listening.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. But so let me ask you this. So of those three, Eigel, Kehoe, who I spoke with last night, Jay Ashcroft, spoke with him yesterday. Bill Eigel was in the room yesterday. Didn't talk to him. He didn't like me. Of those three, who would you say would win in an election today? I'll say it. I would say it would be Ashcroft wins today.
It's got to be Jay Ashcroft, hands down. I mean, he's won statewide a couple of times now. He's got the name Ashcroft. His father held every single statewide office in Missouri. I think he's got to be the heads-on favorite.
All right, so Bill Eigel, talking him potentially running for governor. Christopher Arps, ChrisArps.com, joining us this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Some other things. Is there any, we all know, okay, the special session / veto session. Let me start with Marsh first. Have you ever uncovered anything in the Capitol yet as far as anything being different than what we've already heard from a parade of lawmakers? Tax cuts, ag cuts, potential, rubs with that now defunct conservative caucus. Have you uncovered anything different, John, that maybe we haven't heard at this point?
Mm-hmm. I do. I mean, even the Republicans were kind of saying that this was, they weren't on the same page on what they wanted to do with the special session, and so they just decided, instead of rushing through and maybe having a failure and an embarrassment, let's try to get all our ducks in a row, get something we can agree on before we have the session. I think that's a smart move, personally.
By the way, one of the things about this event last night with this roast of Caleb Rowden and saluting 30 people that are having it blows me away. An older guy like me being around all these people under 30 years old that are influencing policy here where we live. I'm looking at a 24-year-old kid who's influencing what happens in my life, Chris.
Well, it's the good thing about it is these people aren't liberals that got recognized last night. So we're not. We have hope that there is a strong conservative movement, that we have a bench. Not all Generation Y millennials are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So should have given you pause for not concern, but pause for the future, that things are looking brighter.
And this was also cool. Some of what I saw, one of the best roasts, the first guy who roasted was Minority Floor Leader John Rizzo. He was up, man. He was really good with these roast lines of one of our local state senators, Caleb Rowden, who's going to be here 7:35, talking about some of that stuff. Can you hang for a few minutes? I want to get the big topic that's sitting atop Christopher's brain this morning. Can we do that?
697. Let's do it.
697. All right. Coming up a few minutes from now, we'll continue our conversation. By the way, check out Chris Arps' website. He's always got
High ball. That's it deep. Center field. It might go. It's a gunner. It's a gunner for Pujols.
697, and I like that because it gives us something other than politics to think about. Chris, what do you like and best about this Albert Pujols thing? Final season, one more year back with the Cardinals. Because there's a lot going on. Not only is he hitting home runs, but they're coming at a good time. And it's just a neat story. Even if you're just a casual baseball fan, I think it's a neat story.
I mean, it's a fantastic story, and I mean, we're witnessing some serious Major League Baseball history here. Only 4 people in the history of this game have hit 700 home runs, and we're watching somebody approach that, and we've been able to witness just a spectacular career these past 20 years. I mean, you talk about clutch. This guy is clutch, and we're just very grateful here in St. Louis that he decided to end his career here. And I called this, Branden, when he first came to St. Louis. And as you know, you are a St. Louis, and you know ball players that have come to St. Louis maybe for, to rehab their career or something like, or at the end of their career, they end up putting up superstar numbers. They end up loving St. Louis. St. Louis ends up loving them. And I just felt it was going to be the same way with Pujols, that the crowd and the energy was going to revitalize him, and we were going to see just a great season, and that's what we've seen.
And I had the opposite take. I've been trying to find the audio. Whenever I learned the Cardinals re-signed Albert Pujols, I said, yeah, it'll be great. He said he's not going to finish his career with 700 home runs here in St. Louis, but it'll still be fun. And I'm trying to find it because I am hoping I would be wrong. I want to ask, let's do a quick little episode here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Branden Rathert, John Marsh. Producer Hannah is here. Steph back in a few days. By the way, one of the big stories coming up, I don't know if you heard what the Columbia Public School Board did last night, but they clamped down on public comments. We're going to cover that a little bit after 7 o'clock. But let's do a little episode of Would You Rathert. And I think Would You Rather? We did this yesterday. Is Becky laughing too?
She is. Good. That's a good play on your name. I like that.
Would you rather? We put you in maybe 2 uncomfortable situations or 2 very idyllic situations. You got to pick one. I think Hannah was surprised at my answer. Secretary of State. Hannah, were you surprised at my answer yesterday?
I was.
Yeah. And I think I'm in the minority here, but I asked Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft this question, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. And I have very good reasoning for my answer. Would you rather the Cardinals win the World Series, or would you rather see Albert Pujols hit 700 home runs?
Oh, man. That's a tough one.
I'll tell you what I picked, and I'll give you my reasoning. Jay Ashcroft, Secretary of State, said he would rather the Cardinals win the World Series. It's all about the team. I said I would rather Albert Pujols hit 700 home runs, and it's kind of what you were just saying. 4 times, only 3 times right now in Major League Baseball have we witnessed anybody hit 700 home runs. I have witnessed in my lifetime 7 World Series appearances by the Cardinals. I have witnessed the Cardinals already win the World Series 3 times. I've seen that, done that, and have opportunities to do it a whole lot more times. Will we ever see anybody, not just a Cardinal, by the way, but anybody, will we ever have the opportunity to witness somebody else hit 700 home runs? Very likely not. That's why I would rather see Albert Pujols hit 700 home runs than the Cardinals win the World Series.
I'm going to say I'd rather see the Cardinals win the World Series, and then if Pujols comes up a little bit short,
he comes
then
back.
we talk him into coming back for one more year to break the record. So that's my Rathert.
This happens. This happens, man. It's the Cardinals and Yankees, and we're at Busch Stadium, and it's the bottom of the 9th inning, Game 7 of the World Series, and we're down like 8-5. Albert Pujols comes up, bases loaded, hits a grand slam home run to end his career. Quickly, I do want to ask you this, because we're running out of time, man. We could sit here at BS all day about things that kind of distract us from the news, which is very welcome right now. So I heard that apparently this guy in St. Louis has been asked, a Democrat has been asked to run on the GOP side for county executive in St. Louis in 60 seconds. What do you know about this story?
Well, I was there last night. My wife is on the Republican Central Committee, and they voted on Mark Mantovani along with two other candidates. As everyone remembers, we had a county executive candidate that surprisingly beat a state representative by 7 points. She decided she wanted to stay in the race, get out of the race, stay in the race, get out of the race. She eventually dropped out, and so the Central Committee asked for applications. And Mark Mantovani, who is a Democrat who ran previously and barely lost to a county executive, was nominated.
So he's evolved very quickly on where he stands politically. Hey, I want to bring in James has a comment really quick here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri at 874-9390. James, welcome. You're on with Chris. What's on your mind, bud?
Hi, James.
Yes, as a conservative Reagan Republican, I'd sure like to see Jay Ashcroft be our next elected governor.
Yeah.
I've said before on this station, the state cannot afford Mike Kehoe to be its next governor.
All right.
He's a true conservative. Kehoe is not a conservative. Just look at his record. And he wanted a higher gas tax a few years ago, much higher than what we got rammed down our throats last year. But Kehoe's my man, and I think he would serve this state great because we need a conservative leader. And it's going to come down to states' rights. We need somebody to stand up for our state, and Jay Ashcroft would be
all right, James, I got to go. I'm running out of time, but I want to clarify. You said you're all about Ashcroft, but you did. Chris, did I hear him right? You said Kehoe's your man all the way.
He did say that.
All right, which was it, James?
Well, Kehoe's not my man.
Okay, all right. James, thank you for being a part of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Do me a favor. Check out chrisarps.com. Watch for him on Newsmax TV all the time. We love you this Thursday. Chris.
Thanks.
meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe.
That's audio. Columbia Public School Board meeting last night and its administration. This is what you're going to do. We're clamping down on public comments. 30 minutes at school board meetings. That's exactly what it sounded like to a lot of parents. Incredibly. This is disturbing. And I feel for the parents. And I just don't want to get into this. I'd rather talk about like Hannah's impending wedding than talk about this
When
anymore.
you say impending,
I know.
I feel like that makes it sound like impending doom.
Did it come across that way, bud? Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like how you meant it, but
her impending, the impending doom of the wedding that's coming up.
Listen, just because you've had bad experiences, Brandon, doesn't mean
I've had a couple of really great weddings. I really have.
Well, I mean, the goal is to only have one, right?
Yeah, the marriage is. I remember in front, the churches they put up on the reader boards, and it may have been. I can't remember if it was Holt Summit or Jefferson City a couple of years ago, but one of the churches put up on the reader board out front. It said, "Thanks for inviting me to the wedding. Now, how about inviting me to the marriage?"
Yeah.
Signed, God. And I was like, yeah. God, as you understand, him, it, her, she, whatever. Yeah, some kind of God. That might help. In all things, actually, and I don't want to get all philosophical all of a sudden, but it might be what's needed after the Columbia Public School Board meeting last night. You'll do this. You're not going to get any public comment in front of us. By the way, Blair Oaks School District, I think today they're having, or I know they're kind of in the midst of their transgender policy. So, and I'll bring this up, and then we'll move forward to talk about the impending wedding of producer Hannah, because otherwise I'm going to be so mad. Remember a couple years ago, people, because we'd hear about these stories, what was happening, these just mind-bending, gut-wrenching. And think about this from a parent's point of view, because I know it's fun for us to take on this political, I can't believe they're doing that. And that is right, and that is proper. Some of these things that happen in schools all across the country, yeah. But then we think about the parents for a second that are really going through this. Told by Columbia Public School Board last night. By the way, I want to give a shout out. The 2 no votes last night. School board member Blake Willoughby and I think Catherine Sasser. Catherine Sasser. The 2 folks who voted no on this policy, this public comment policy. From what I understand, nobody got up to that podium last night in front of the school board president, who at one time ended a meeting with no notice, no nothing, falsely accusing a parent of being derogatory. There's video and audio we've played for a long time here on the show, so it's proof she was not being derogatory. So they have a history, they have a reputation for doing this, but not one person got up in front of that podium and said, hey, I think this is a good idea. Let parents have less say-so. Let taxpayers have less say-so. Not one person did that, from what I know. But you think about the parents, man. And it's just heart-wrenching. You know what else kind of I'm wondering about? Andy Reid's son. Yesterday, he pled, by the way, Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Did I introduce myself yet? If we haven't had the opportunity to meet, thank you for being here. My name is Branden Rathert. I want to introduce you to Brian Houseworth.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
John Marsh. Producer Hannah.
Howdy.
Usually Stephanie's hanging out with us, but she'll be back, I think, coming up on Monday. Andy Reid's son. This is something else I wonder about, too. And you could come at this from a bunch of different angles about, maybe some privilege or whatever. Britt Reid, son of Andy Reid, has had issues with drinking and drugs and that kind of stuff over the years. Last year, drinking, driving, hits a car, got a little girl in it, and obviously facing serious charges. And I don't think anybody's going easy on him. The family's not happy. He reached a plea deal. But the thing I always wonder, I go to the parent. Maybe some of it is because of what I put my dad through over the years. Now, I ain't never got drunk and hit a little girl and damaged her irreparably for the rest of her life. I've never done that. But I think about what my son went through. I remember my son back in, 2011, whatever it was, went to his graduation in Idaho, and he got some kind of honor. Hannah, what's one of the honors you get when you graduate? It's not the top student, but one of those
salutatorian,
something like that. I don't know what it was. I guess I should have been paying attention, but he got something, and then flew back to Florida. And 2 days later, I'm rushing back to Idaho because he's on some kind of drug-induced, binge, and we're having to go and track him down. And I remember one of the first things I thought, man, because it freaked me out as a dad, and I hope it's something you never have to go through. And if it's something you have been through, I hope you have opportunity to share that with other people, to let them know, hey, man, I've been through it, and it sucks, but you can get through it. Here's how I did it. You can share that experience. But then I remember thinking my dad and what he went through, and I wonder about Coach Andy Reid. And I don't mean, hey, what Britt Reid did, that's horrible. He pled guilty in this crash. But I feel for what the father goes through, because when you're a parent, right, you know this, John, you love your kid no matter what. You don't always back them, and I think that's probably one of the hardest things as a parent or a spouse, which Hannah will soon learn. When your spouse Yeah, and it's not his other kid apparently has had some issues too. And when you're in the public eye, when you're one of the most successful NFL coaches of all time, when you've recently been to a couple of Super Bowls, when you have recently won a Super Bowl, you get a lot of scrutiny. Bums me out. Hannah, you will soon learn as you move forward into marriage. I want to get off this topic of schools and stuff. Blair Oaks, their transgender policy, and what happened at Columbia Public Schools yesterday. One more comment. This is from a parent because she just nails it. It was a parent who said it all. Again, the reputation of the Columbia Public School District, poor communication, not just with media. There is myself, great communications with Brian Houseworth. Yeah. Can you back me up on that?
I'm
trying to throw him a bone here, Brian. I'm trying to be nice.
I can't speak for your experience, but my experience has been pretty good. And I do feel like, at least with me, Michelle Baumstark, my experience has been very positive, zero complaints.
No.
I feel like I ask tough questions and stuff. Now, not everything I cover is controversial. Some is, some isn't. But no, I've not run into issues with neither Dr. Yearwood nor Michelle.
And here's why I get I was asked to stop my attacks, and I politely and correctly and factually pointed out to them, facts are not attacks. We don't talk so much anymore. So I'll move forward from that. This is a parent last night.
I want you to understand what it's like outside of your culture, because it's nothing like this. It's not like this. I never went to a superintendent for help and was told I couldn't talk to him, ever.
And that is consistent. That is consistent with what I have dealt with, what we've heard from parents, and what we see when you're at a meeting and you end a school board meeting just like that because you're the president and you think, and I would encourage you, ever get a chance, go back and watch that video. I think it was from a meeting of November of 2021, and the school board ends the meeting, said to a parent, you're being derogatory, and that was not what was happening. It's really poor management all around.
That is a very powerful soundbite, and I would follow up with that by saying this. Brandon, when you and I were at, and again, I can't speak for this lady's experience. I don't know who she is, but she obviously is very passionate. You could tell that in her voice. We did hear when you and I were at Dickey's Barbecue a couple of similar comments when Dr. Yearwood addressed the pachyderms before the bond issue. But I think, in fairness to Dr. Yearwood, he told those parents very similar. I can't remember if it was Oh, she calls in quite a bit to the radio station. She had several similar concerns. There was another gentleman as well. Dr. Yearwood was unaware of that, and he made it clear if someone has a concern, he wants them to come to him. He did say that. I think you were there.
Yep,
so
he did. He said that.
He did.
And then we have, so he did say that. Brian and I earlier
we
this
were
year,
there. We were there. He did.
Says, I want you to come to me.
I never went to a superintendent for help and was told I couldn't talk to him, ever.
And I don't know the other side of this particular story, but here's the thing. Their reputation, this is on par. This is par for the course. That's what happens. That's been my experience. That's been the experience of countless parents, and it's frustrating. Let's talk about weddings.
Yay!
874-9390. Hannah, let me ask you, even though you are not married yet, how do you do that? You've been in a long-term relationship. In my book, a couple years, that's long-term, man.
Going on not quite 3 years. Coming up.
And, John, you probably have better insight than I do. I'll start with you, Hannah. Like, what do you do when your spouse, and kind of back to the parent thing, and I feel for Coach Andy Reid and what he's having to deal with his son, because this is not Andy Reid's fault, but you love your family no matter what, but you can't back them on things. How do you handle a situation like that? Now, I remember experiences of my dad, and I think his second wife, whom he was married to for 30 years, like in a party one night, my dad was laughing, going along with what she said, or was stood by quietly and later said, I got to tell you, you were flat out wrong. And that was about as heated of a disagreement as I've ever seen them have in their 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that in public you should have your spouse's back.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe once it's just the two of you alone, maybe that's when you say, hey, I actually did disagree with that. If it's something like huge and really wrong, I don't know what I would do. Because I think that you should always have your partner's back.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is room for discussion when you're in private and it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Say, hey, baby, you kicked Edith's Chihuahua up against the wall, man. I bet you can't. You say, yeah, that's wrong, but I will support you in front of family. Coming up a little bit. Oh, by the way, State Senator Caleb Rowden got roasted last night. Big event, Missouri Soybean Association, Missouri Times. They were saluting the folks 30 people under the age of 30 making waves in Missouri politics. Great event. I wonder if Caleb will tell us what he thought some of the funniest lines were last night. And then, of course, session getting underway here in the next few days. 874-9390, 874-9390. Text off the text real quick. I do want to get into What's Hot with Hannah. My wife is a teacher at a school. She's been told the superintendent doesn't talk to anyone. Oh, and I did get an email from somebody, former school board member, went to some kind of parent-teacher conference event, and nobody was there. So the principal sends out this thing like, hey, we really could use everybody's participation in this stuff. And then the principal didn't go. That was in the Columbia.
Oh, awkward.
I know. How do you back your principal when they've done wrong, when you know you can't back them? Coming up, What's Hot with Hannah? Just kind of fun things folks might be talking about this morning.
It's been a while since we've gotten to do a dumb criminal story. And this one involves a Walmart, so it's going to be good.
Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:27.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know, it's been a while since we've done a dumb criminal story.
This is one of those, you always want to turn your radio up just a little bit. Maybe share this one with your friends at work this morning.
And I hate to disappoint, but this guy's not even from Florida, unfortunately. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee.
We'll take it. Tennessee works.
He has face tattoos, if that tells you anything.
You know, I hate to stereotype, but sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything against tattoos, but something about face tattoos I get a little hung up on.
Yeah, we can tell some things about you,
so,
usually.
Maybe one of the things you would be able to tell about this fine gentleman, he shops at Walmart, and he also steals from Walmart, but he's a businessman. So he resells what he steals.
Oh, so there are some good businessmen out there that do have face tats.
Yeah. Maybe the best place to sell Walmart stolen goods is not the Walmart parking lot. So this guy was stealing televisions from Walmart, walking out into the parking lot and like bootleg selling them basically and making an immediate profit because he got his product for nothing. And turn around and sell it at a discounted price, and he's still making bank.
God. Low overhead, man. Doesn't have to pay for the gas that Joe Biden is We're still up at $3.39 a gallon. Didn't have to pay for gas, no travel expenses. You walk in, I don't know, every few hours. Listen, I've seen this with panhandlers. No matter where you are, mid-Missouri, across the country, with some panhandlers, they'll be out and they panhandle. And then they'll either go and get something to eat or they go and get some booze, sit on the side of the gas station in the shade, and they drink that 40-ouncer. And then when that's done, they go back out there to the intersection and they panhandle some more. And then people give them money, and then they go and they duck in. They get another 40-ouncer, and then they sit in the shade and they drink that. I've seen it. I've seen that. I've seen people do that. We are 56 days out until the election. Do you know who you're voting for? More importantly, is you have an ID? We all have an ID. It's not expired, is it? Is it up to date?
I'm good.
Good. All right, because that's starting to get some folks now. Coming up, State Senator Caleb Rowden. We're talking special session, but the bigger thing is there was a roast last night. A roast honoring Caleb Rowden. What does he think were a couple of the best lines about him? That's coming up about 5 minutes from now.
Your thoughts on his job? Has he done a good job, do you think?
Hey, first of all, it's not my job to give him a report card.
Senator Mark Kelly. Being asked on a CBS affiliate in Phoenix, Arizona, Mark Kelly, he is the Senate Democrat, I think former astronaut, but he said it's a real simple question, right, Marsh? If you're a Democrat and you're asked, do you think Joe Biden is doing a good job? What's the answer? It's always yes.
Your thoughts on his job? Has he done a good job, do you think?
Hey, first of all, it's not my job to give him a report card.
Not even to edit it. And here's the thing. You got to know you're getting that question. People are asking these questions of Democrats everywhere. You got to know, at least prepare with some kind of BS answer. Lie, say no, or tell the truth and say, no, he's not. That's why we have millions of regretful Biden voters nationwide. That's why we have hundreds of thousands of regretful Biden voters right here where we live in Missouri. So you either tell the truth as a Democrat, say, no, I don't think Joe Biden is doing a good job. You answer truthfully. Or you plan ahead. When you're being asked by a news reporter on the TV.
Your thoughts on his job? Has he done a good job, do you think?
Hey, first of all, it's not.
Wow. Welcome to the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Mr. John Marsh is here. There's producer Hannah Bryan Houseworth. I am Branden Rathert. Want to bring in Caleb Rowden, State Senator, Columbia. Welcome into the show. I want to ask you, because I guess there's some business. We should talk about important things, special session. Number one, seriously, publicly, I give you huge kudos for agreeing to be roasted last night in front of several hundred of Missouri's biggest political players. Missouri Soybean Association last night, Missouri Times. Have you ever been roasted before, Caleb?
Probably not on that scale. That probably was the first for me.
So when you were asked, when somebody came and said, Caleb, we want to put you on stage in front of several hundred of, Missouri's, most influential people in Missouri politics. Did you have to think about how do you respond to something like that?
Yeah. I said yes pretty quick, and then regretted it pretty immediately afterwards. So, but we raised a little money for Welcome Home last night, which was good. Great local charity here. So, not all crazy for sure.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Megan Sievers with Welcome Home is going to be here a little bit after 8 o'clock this morning talking about the annual picnic they do. They really do great work here in mid-Missouri. They help veterans, and they don't just give them a place to stay and give them a bowl of soup, man. I mean, what do we do? What kind of tools can we give you? They do incredible work. I want to ask you this, too. So when you were asked to do the roast, was it after this past year's very contentious legislative session?
Oh yeah, it was just a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. Yeah, so it was. I knew I was headed for something special.
Man, I got to tell you, and I didn't stay for the whole thing, and I want to get, if you have an idea of what was one of the favorite lines about you, I will say this, and I can't remember which lawmaker did this line, but they were talking about Bill White, who apparently owns some bowling alleys. Bill White, who just lost a re-election bid. On a state level. He's from the Joplin area, apparently owns some bowling alleys. And then whoever it was that gave the line said, talk about Bill White's bowling alleys. The ball hits the pins, it comes down through, and it goes up through a ball polisher, or as Jim Lemke calls it, a Bill Eigel. Whoa! The response.
It's always good when people are roasting other people at my roast. That was the part that made me feel a little bit better about life.
Maybe a little inside baseball. Jim Lemke is very influential to this day, probably, in what Bill Eigel does or tries to do. And now there's talk he might even run for governor. There was, and by the way, whenever we're done hanging out here, Caleb, we are going to go out with some of your Christian music. There was some plays on that. As it relates to you, Senator, what are your favorite line or two that was aimed at you last night?
There were a bunch of them, honestly. I mean, there were a few things about the Christian rock upbringing that I thought was pretty funny. One of the guys at the Democrat staffer actually grew up a couple of houses down from me, so he had some interesting lines. But I assume mine's the first roast that all of the jokes had no elements of truth in it. So I'm banking on that, hopefully. So.
And I didn't see your mom and dad. Were your mom and dad there?
No, they didn't end up coming. I thought potentially that might not be the best thing. My mom, loves me a lot, as do most moms, but I figured there was some scenario in the wrong circumstance where she might have throat punched somebody, which would have been caused some news in and of itself. So we decided maybe for them to just stay home and get the highlights on the Eagle the next morning.
All right, and I do well. And so here's the thing, and I would love to. I met some incredible people last night. Pat Thomas, Lieutenant Governor, I was chatting with him a little bit. And I thought this was an interesting dynamic. Incidentally, you've got Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe in the same room with Bill Eigel. Those two, of course, they're very well. Kehoe more so than Eigel. Very likely running for governor. We had Jay Ashcroft on the show yesterday. So very interesting dynamic happening here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Was there, and I know your background, I know your Christian upbringing, I know your belief system now. At times with some of the language and some of the things being said, and you played a good sport. It's a roast. That's all it is, folks. It's a roast.
Yeah.
But your reaction, man, what was going on in your head and your heart when some of these things were happening?
Well, I mean, it's very little offends me. It's just kind of the way it is, but I knew there were a few jokes that I knew the crowd well enough to know the makeup of the crowd well enough to know that there were probably some uncomfortable moments for some of them. Which again, it's a roast, so you kind of you never know what you're walking into, but I kind of set the bar really, 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 really low, and usually you can't get under that. That's kind of the goal for me. But yeah, it was a lot of funny jokes, a lot of, a few of them felt pretty flat, which is good. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I enjoyed it and I probably will never do it again, but if you do once, just to say you did it, and then you move on.
Yeah, you move on, yeah. Minority Floor Leader John Rizzo, who opened up after the MC duties, he did a really good job, and it was cool. We talk about partisan politics, how nasty it is, especially now. I've never seen it as bad as it is now in current political times, but it is cool at events like that where you see several hundred people of different party affiliations all in the same room. State Senator Majority Leader Caleb Rowden joining us this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always some kind of growing pains as it relates to new General Assemblies. This is a new one. There's 7 new Republican senators, one new Democrat senator. There's going to be some moments where it's going to take a minute for us to get going. But as far as the dynamic you're talking about, John, I think it's going to be better than people think, honestly. I mean, people know I'm running for president of the Senate. I as of yet, don't have a challenger for that. We're working hard to make sure we get those votes secured either way. But, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Any of the people that you just mentioned, if they want to work together, if they want to accomplish big conservative things, if they want to do things for their district, if they want the Senate to be what the Senate is supposed to be, then I want to help them do that. And that really is my goal. I think it would be, foolish and petty of me to let, whatever personal conflicts may exist between me and other folks get in the way of or supersede a desire to use this opportunity that we have as Republicans and conservatives to accomplish big things. It was a long time prior to Matt Blunt where we had a Republican majority and a Republican governor, and then we didn't have it after that when Nixon was in office for 8 years. So, you just can't take for granted these moments. You can do big, important generational things if you're willing to do the work. So, I've talked with literally every person in the Republican caucus in the last probably 96 hours. Kind of give them an update on special session, and as far as I'm concerned, that flow of communication is wide open. And if, like I said, if they want to work, I want to work.
All right, State Senator Caleb Rowden. Here's the thing that gets me with, and really it's politics in general. I get the game. You've got this guy, Mark Mantovani in St. Louis, had been a Democrat, now decides he wants to be a Republican so he can run for county executive in St. Louis. Everything, it's just politics as that leverage to gain something for yourself. I'm guessing he stood on his morals as a progressive Democrat. Now, all of a sudden, he's not. And I don't know, when I look at state politics, for example, there's Bill Eigel, I'll use that as an example. What happened this past legislative session, I kept saying the way it was carried out and what happened when Bill Eigel's office was calling me here. I have never had a conversation in my professional career, somebody begging, almost demanding to be on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Almost demand. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. And I said the following day, this is leverage, trying to get name recognition to make a run for a bigger office. And lo and behold, apparently he's formed a committee to see if he won. So that's the thing. And I'm not picking on Bill Eigel here. I'm simply pointing out facts. And it's something we call there was a reason to what they did in the Senate to push somebody forward, and we're seeing that come to fruition. Now, I got to move forward. Caleb, anything, State Senator Caleb Rowden, anything else that you would like to add to be of service to citizens here in Missouri?
Well, hopefully I go today without people saying mean things about me. That's my goal. So.
All the references to the Bart Simpson stuff, I thought that was pretty cool. Caleb, thank you. Anything we can do to be of service, you let us know. And coming up, we are going to do Simon Cowell, the dude judge on, I don't know, how many judgy shows has he been on? He's been on several, right? He's been on more than one. He started on American Idol.
He's like the creator of a lot of those judgy shows.
Yeah, he did. I need a way. I need to roast people on a regular basis. That's what those shows are like, right? In effect, it's an instant roast of your talents or lack of talents. That's what it is. But you got to hear this Simon Cowell. I want you to hear it. We're going to do that. What happened? But it speaks to a bigger story. It's something we should all be paying attention to. And right now, I'll let you know my phone is blowing up, man. Economic numbers are out as it relates to inflation. You want the good news first or the bad news first, John? The good news is it's not as bad as we thought. It's pretty bad. All right, well, maybe we'll get into that coming up. Morning Bell, we'll do that at 8:25. Meanwhile, here's some of the Christian music Caleb Rowden got roasted for last night. seen the video? Simon Cowell doing opera music. Is that called an aria when it's a solo dude? And I don't know. I'm not cultured that way.
Wait, that's Simon Cowell?
Simon Cowell. So you would think. There have been some videos circulating. And is what it is. It's Simon Cowell judging Simon Cowell. And it's video of Simon Cowell. You're like, oh, my God, look at him. He's going singing. I was going to do it for our YouTube channel, but I'm not even going to try. You can watch us on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, we're at Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
It's pretty cool. The folks from YouTube, they show up every morning before we go on air. They set up all their cameras and sound equipment and boom mics, and then they broadcast also onto the YouTube. And you get some really, it's way better when Stephanie Bell's here.
Yeah, the folks at YouTube are cool, too, because they actually let us change our page name.
Yeah, we're still having...
Not throwing any shade or anything.
All right, how's that going with Meta, by the way? Facebook, Meta.
With Meta?
Meta.
Well, the name has not changed, so you tell me how that's going.
Because they have all the power. They think they're the Columbia Public School Board, for that matter. We're working on it. It's a work in progress. Coming up, 8:25, Morning Bellows job. Well, it's not job numbers, and I'll just go ahead and tell you now. I'm not going to make you wait. It's coming up on 8 o'clock in case you can't get to a radio whenever you get into work. It's interesting because a bunch of different headlines, breaking news alerts. Maybe it's the New York Times is being most honest here. Inflation, prices still up. CNN annual inflation rate increased slightly in August. Fox News, inflation soars 8.3% in August versus last year. USA Today, inflation eased in August as gas prices fell. We'll cover some more of this in the morning, pal. So it's basically, we're screwed basically still since the tragic events January 20, 2021. All right, Simon Cowell. So there's this video going around. Simon Cowell, he was the American Idol. Now he does X Factor. He likes to judge people. He's awfully judgy. Anyhow, the video's going around, and it's him judging one of his performances, except it's not him. And everybody on Facebook is falling for it, man. I'm telling you. We have a guy here in our engineering department with Zimmer who's sending me this stuff all the time. Morgan Wright is a cybersecurity expert talking about these deep fakes.
It does. It's a dual-edged sword. And what happens is with deep fake technology, Dan, it doesn't. You might prove that it's not true an hour later. It doesn't matter. The initial damage is done. It's that old Mark Twain saying, a lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth can lace up its boots.
Listen, you start quoting, you quote a Missouri boy to make your point. These deep fakes, we saw in the video a couple of years ago, Tom Cruise hopping around like a Missouri bullfrog going, my gosh, what's wrong with Tom Cruise? Except it wasn't him. Everything in your brain and heart says, yes, that is him. It's not. The political implications, the factual implications of this can be stunning and frightening.
The board has voted to approve those changes to the public comment procedure, fundamentally restructuring exactly who can speak and when they can speak at public board meetings.
A lot of people were upset with the board and wanted them to table the policy vote, saying it seems like they had a lot more to figure out.
Parents spoke and they were not happy with the policy being proposed tonight, including one parent who is really not happy about it being passed.
I love that. By the way, those are audio from KOMU, KRCG, and our news partners at ABC 17, this reporter, and a lot of parents. From what I understand, now, I did not go last night. I was at this roast for Caleb Rowden, helping to raise money for Welcome Home, which is an incredible organization helping veterans here in mid-Missouri. But the one parent that he's referring to, he's played the audio earlier, but I want to go to this other audio that we've been talking about because people have been asking me as we've talked about it. But this parent said, you guys addressing the school board, you need to, in effect, get out of your vacuum. You live in this little world, and I love it so much that this parent got up and said those very thoughtful, very true words. If you know Catherine Sasser, if you know Blake Willoughby, those are the two that voted against this comment change. And it's limiting comments 30 minutes, which is disgusting when you're talking about. You mean, wait a minute, I pay taxes and I can go up and only address 30 minutes? A school district, think about this. A school district with almost 20,000, maybe 18,000, 19,000 students. Last I heard, been a while. Best we could estimate from a previous superintendent, he figured about 40 to 42,000 parents. Not that's how many shows up to these meetings, but you're saying it's limited to 30 minutes? 30 minutes. And people are wanting to know why. Well, we know why for a couple of reasons, but I want to offer proof because I've brought this up a couple of times this morning. School board meeting last year. A parent was speaking and had spoken more than once because she wasn't getting heard. And the school board president, there's a whole exchange before this, and this parent is saying, hey, listen, I've reached out to you, and some of you have never gotten back to me. School board president took exception to this and then flat out, stone cold ended the meeting.
You're doing the same thing that you did before.
I'm just stating what I've asked you guys.
You heard me say twice this evening, comments that are derogatory.
And this parent made no comments that were derogatory. She was pointing out facts. You have not gotten back to me. I have kids in this school. I would like to talk to you. Those are facts. And it's interesting because there's this consistent type of communication. I have been told personally from the Columbia Public, hey, we asked that you stop these attacks. And I had to tell them the facts that I present, those are not attacks. They're just plain facts. And it shows you this whole mindset. They don't like to be called on their own BS. They really, really don't.
And that's what you're doing.
Derogatory?
You've just told us that you've sent emails. We've read them.
That was being derogatory. School. Yes, you've just told us that you've sent us emails and we're not responding. That's derogatory.
The email that I've sent. I mean, this is insane.
And you can hear the anguish in that parent, like, I'm just telling you, I've sent you emails and you guys aren't responding. I'm trying to get answers. And they're shutting her up. And she's on the verge of tears like, this is insane.
You're suppressing my voice.
Ma'am, you're here to be very critical.
You're here to be very critical. And we don't want to hear it. It's incredibly frustrating. Marsh, what's going on with Blair Oaks today? Do you know? Yeah. Yeah, and then is Southern Boone? They're still without a superintendent right now. Did we ever find out what happened there?
No, that's all considered closed. They don't have to announce that. It's a personnel. I did try to check on that. Yeah. I want to make one point, if I may, about the CPS, because and what John's talking about there at Blair Oaks is a huge issue, and I do expect that to get a lot of attention. the lady that you played the soundbite that was talking there to Helen Wade, she was at the Pachyderm meeting when you and I were there in the spring. That lady was
when Dr. Brian Yearwood. Yeah,
exactly. He was speaking, and
Dr. Brian Yearwood is the superintendent of the Columbia Public School District.
Exactly, and this lady was there. And the complaint she was making there at that meeting, which I think you said was, in the past, I can't remember when it was. I do remember that meeting. That was a similar complaint to what we heard from several parents at the Pachyderms meeting. And Dr. Yearwood made it very clear. I think it's important to note that if people he wants to hear from them directly, but then there are other parents that say they can't get through to him. But I think in fairness to the district, and I can't speak for the district, I can only speak in fairness to the superintendent, Branden. I was at Dickey's barbecue, and there were two parents that had different concerns. One man was upset over something called FERPA. Another one was upset over bus drivers. And Dr. Yearwood one of them actually interrupted my interview that I was recording to do an interview about the bond issue. And I know he took 20 minutes with one of them, 10 for another. But the bottom line is there seems to be, because he said, I'm willing to meet with you, but they were saying they couldn't get through to him. So yep. I can't speak for that, but I do know he did meet with them because I was there.
And I'm being cynical. Of course he took time with that guy because he was in front of a journalist. You were there. Of course he stopped down and take the... I'm being a little cynical there. But here's another parent speaking. And by the way, nobody, from what I understand, I didn't go last night. I was at the roast of Caleb Rowden. Huge money raised for an incredible organization. As a matter of fact, Welcome Home's Megan Sievers is going to be joining us shortly. As I understand it, not one person got upset. I'm in favor of you clamping down. Let me give you some more insight into this. As we are 56 days out until the midterms, and it's this whole mindset thing. 56 days until the midterms. Here's a parent last night. As I understand it, not one person got upset. I'm in favor of you clamping down on public comments. Only 30 minutes. Not one person spoke in favor of. School board, elected to serve their constituents. Kudos to Willoughby and Sasser for voting no on this.
I want you to understand what it's like outside of your culture, because it's nothing like this. It's not like this. I never went to a superintendent for help and was told I couldn't talk to him, ever.
It's a parent referencing the superintendent of the Columbia Public School District. That's why I'm cynical and say, whenever we were there at that event, Columbia Pachyderms, he stopped down and talked to those people. You know why? Because you had a highly rated talk show host and one of the finest journalists in all of mid-Missouri. The only thing that would have made this thing better, Mr. Marsh, if you had been there. Boom. Welcome into the show. There's John Marsh. Brian Houseworth sporting seafoam green this morning.
And my little kind of like a little golf shirt. But yes, it's great to be with you.
Same colors.
It's not seafoam green.
I call it seafoam green.
We were talking about the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Kind of a light, kind of a spring type of color. But I thought since it's getting warm, I'm going to wear it today.
What kind of green is it, producer Hannah?
I would call it like a lime green almost. Yeah. Seafoam is more of a teal, like mint green or mint blue.
And I want to also tell you, fabulous picture of you with Scott Fawn on This Week in Missouri Politics. Really good, really good. Yeah, but you and Brianna Lennon and the secretary. I mean, that's fantastic. Congratulations! I'm really looking forward to that.
And by the way, I was surprised. I didn't know this. Maybe I haven't been paying enough attention. I'm watching the Denver Seahawks game before I duck out last night. Former Mizzou quarterback on the sideline of the Seattle Seahawks. Yes. I thought he still played for Denver.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And then Buck calling the game. Just a lot. Who's a St. Louis guy, actually spent time here in Columbia, Joe Buck.
Welcome to the show. Did I introduce everybody? Okay, by the way, so at this, so This Week in Missouri Politics airs on KMOS. It airs on the ABC affiliate in St. Louis. It airs on Channel 38 in Kansas City, other places across the state. And it's just Missouri politics. I was on the show, and I'm in flip-flops and a nice jacket and all that. Last night, no kidding, there were two different people. So I go to this roast for Caleb Rowden and celebrating 30 under 30 people that are influencing politics that are under the age of 30. Amazing event by the Missouri Soybean Association last night. Missouri Times, great publication for state news, by the way, MissouriTimes.com. And this young lady comes up, and we're talking, and she looks down at my feet, and she says, "You're Branden Rathert, aren't you?"
Oh, no.
Yeah, a young lady named Camilla. And then somebody came up, and I know this. I'd heard the name, never met her before. This woman comes up. We're not even talking. She looks at my feet because people were looking at me. Listen, John, you know what it's like. You get into a room with several hundred players, and you're dressed in a nice everything, and you're wearing flip-flops. You can imagine people got all Simon Cowell-like on me, got all judgy and stuff, I feel like, except for Pat Thomas. I had never had the pleasure of meeting Pat Thomas in person before. She comes up. She just looks at my feet. We didn't even talk. She says, flip-flops, you got to be Branden Rathert. Yeah. And it's not a thing. It's just I don't like wearing shoes. I'm not trying to make a statement. I just don't like wearing shoes, and I've learned in my... That's right. Yeah, Tom Sawyer Hawk fan. That's how I roll. Let's welcome in. And by the way, this event last night, the money was going to Welcome Home. Portion of the proceeds going to Welcome Home. We welcome in Megan Sievers from Welcome Home. Welcome in, Megan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing so good. How are you, Brandon?
Excellent. I wish you could have been there last night. I know you're busy doing a million things. You're also, by the way, a mom and all that. But, man, this... I was blushing at this roast last night, Megan.
Well, it sounds incredible.
It was. Man, some of the comments. I mean, these are all law. And I'm grateful that the roast was on behalf of, they roasted State Senator Caleb Rowden. One of the first things I said to Caleb this morning, I'm so glad your mom and dad weren't there because I wouldn't want to hear that stuff. Welcome Home. Does incredible work here in mid-Missouri. What I've always appreciated about you guys at Welcome Home is that it's not just, hey, here's a place to sleep, here's some food, and come back next time you need this. You give veterans the tools to get back on their feet. You help them. You guide them. You say, here's the toolbox. Now you go out, you use the tools in this toolbox, and big annual picnic is coming up. What do we need to know about the annual picnic, Megan?
Well, the very special thing about it this year is that we are celebrating 30 years of serving veterans, which is absolutely incredible. So it's the 5th annual picnic. It's brought to the community by the Giving Branch. We could not do it without the Rockbridge Lions Club. And it's going to be just such a fun, special, meaningful night for the community to get together and really just rally behind our veterans and raise some good money to help Welcome Home's programs and services. We're very excited.
It's incredible. Megan Sievers, Welcome Home, is joining us. 5th annual picnic, Rockbridge Lions Club. I love these guys. I've been involved with this one way or another for 5 years now. These Rockbridge Lions Club dudes, man, they roll around in shorts and flip-flops, and they grill out and stuff at this picnic. I mean, these are my kind of people. Where can we get tickets? By the way, this is an event you want to be at, by the way. Where can we get tickets?
Well, thank you for that, Brandon. I would like to agree. You can actually get tickets at our website. If you go to welcomeveterans.org, you can click on the flyer for the picnic link, and it will take you right to the ticket site. You can actually just show up, too. Maybe you've not decided if you can make it or not. Just show up that night. We'll let you in, have a good time, eat some good barbecue. There's a good auction going on. Live music. Just come celebrate. Have some fun.
It is a great, it really is. And I know there's a lot of events all throughout mid-Missouri. As a matter of fact, Friday night, producer Hannah and John Marsh and myself hanging out at the Jefferson City Chamber event at a winery. It was beautiful. And this is a great event. It's coming up next Monday, 5 to 8, MU Health. Now, usually it's at Logboat. Those are the folks that made what used to be my favorite beer, Logboat Snapper. It would still be my favorite beer if I drank. I just don't drink anymore. But it was incredible beer, man. MU Healthcare Farmers Market Pavilion, Monday. You can buy tickets there, or you can get on to the website for our friends at Welcome Home, welcomeveterans.org. Megan, thank you for what you guys do. And do me a favor, thank the staff there, too, because obviously, you know, all these people do great things, and there's always great people that are there propping us up and letting us continue the work that we do, okay?
I will do that. I appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you so much.
There's confusion as to who made the decision, whether it was the governor, who is a sanctuary state person, and or the mayor. But we got no heads up. I was not told. My staff was not told.
That is the mayor of Burr Ridge, Illinois. So think about what's happening here for a second as it relates to illegal immigration. We've got our border states. We've got, and not just our border states. I wish we'd think more on a local level, and not just here in mid-Missouri, but more on a local level for those folks that are in Texas, California, and New Mexico. Those people that live in those counties that directly border Mexico. Not just state as a whole, those counties. Think of it as if, if we were in Callaway County or Cole County or Randolph County, whatever, and we're right up against the border. And these illegal immigrants keep flooding in every day, and it's causing not just financial loss and harm to us by having to repair stuff and having to repair fences and everything that happens with this, but then it's a drain on services in the town we live in. So what do? So the governor of Texas, at the very least, well, it's, you know what? We have sanctuary cities. We have cities like Philadelphia and Chicago and New York that have said, hey, we are sanctuary cities. If you're here illegally, you come to our city and we will take care of you. And the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, says, you know what? It's a great idea. Sends them to Washington, D.C., New York City, sends them to Chicago. And what do? In the mayors of these sanctuary cities, they lose their flipping minds.
Whoa.
Right? Sorry. Were you able to redact that?
I was nervous.
Sorry. Redact that. Strike it from the record, Your Honor. Never said it, man. I don't understand that. So anyhow, and here's the other thing they did, which I don't understand. This thought process. You see what we're dealing with here? Not just locally. Not just like with the Columbia Public School Board. We don't like to hear dissent. You can't talk anymore. It happens on a national level, man. So the governor sends these people to these sanctuary cities, and sanctuary cities, despite the fact that they hang their hat on being a sanctuary city, they get upset. What are you doing? And then you know what? The mayor of D.C., she called the feds. She needed some help. And then she got upset because the feds wouldn't help them. And they're like, why don't the feds go to the border and help where it matters? And then the other thing. They want to come and get John Marsh's taxes, man. Oh, yeah. And be careful what we say here. So then they and here's the thing that frustrates me the most is that then they say, well, these governors, they're using these illegal immigrants as political ploys. Wait a minute. So you're putting an illegal immigrant where it's 110 degrees along the border in Texas. You're putting them on an air-conditioned bus, and you're sending them to a sanctuary city where the sanctuary cities are taking very nice care of them, putting them up in some nice hotels in some instances, by the way. And that's a political ploy? You're a sanctuary city, air-conditioned buses, agua, all that stuff, man. So it's a political ploy. We can't believe that you're doing this. So guess what? For example, the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot's doing now. She's sending them to cities that are run by Republicans because she's upset with them being used as a political ploy. You know, they have the sense of a 2-year-old sometimes where you can't explain things to a 2-year-old. John, the most common question I had from my parents when I was 2. Maybe, Hannah, you had this too. Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Mommy, what are you doing? Okay, second most common question besides that one. I remember we'd drive in the car at night. My mom had an old 75 Jeep Grand Wagoneer is what it was. Or maybe it was just a Wagoneer, but it had wood paneling. And we would drive at night there along Beale Air Force Base, and we'd check in on the pace. And you're Air Force brat, you might be familiar. But I remember I would ask, Mom, why is the moon following us? As a kid, you would look out your car window, and wherever you were, there's the moon. But we would drive across town to the other side of the base to go to the annex. There was the moon.
Still there.
Still there. Mom, blows me away. and my mom she said, well, you're 2 years old, you just won't understand. And that's what I want to say to these people like Muriel Bowser and Lori Lightfoot and Eric Adamson. You just don't understand it. You really don't get it. You have no self-awareness. Some of those things could be said about folks locally. There's Mr. John Marsh. What happened with this? Man, that's got to be kind of frightening. I'm wondering, and I don't want to diminish anything. Kids are going to be okay. Hannah rolls her eyes every time I say, I don't want to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But seriously, I don't want to diminish what happened. The kid's going to be okay. But I asked some kids getting onto a bus, and all of a sudden the bus starts rolling. I'm thinking it was a high school prank. What do we know, John? Mm-hmm. One of my first thoughts, it's a high school prank. A bus driver got off the bus to have a cigar or something, and then the kids, let's release the emergency brake or something. But if it was all, yeah.
I was gonna say this is also a girls' sports team, and they're a little smarter than that. And not to stereotype.
Right. But if we stereotype because it works a lot of times. And so, yeah, I'm thinking, okay, these are our young women. They would not have behaved in that fashion. They're part of a sports organization. And then I'm wondering, because, it has been challenges for local school districts to try to get some bus drivers. Matter of fact, there's a story. Okay. So it wasn't specifically for the school district. It was specifically busing kids around to sports. And we've seen these school districts have to rely on contracting companies who run these bus lines having to do anything they can to try to recruit people. In the state, I think, they're relaxing requirements, licensing requirements for teachers. And I always say, you're not relaxing requirements. You're broadening your horizons or what have you. But I'm wondering if maybe some of these, and I don't think so, but, did somebody slip through, like maybe somebody like, we ain't real sure if you should be driving school-aged kids around town, but you know what? We're short-staffed. You're hired. I can't help but wonder that because, man, what have we been big on for almost a month now? Is kids were going back to school. Kids are short in Columbia. Kids weren't sure, and it happened last year too. And this is something I don't fault school bus companies or any school district for, but if you don't have the people to drive the buses, there were a lot of times kids, they weren't being picked up from, or they couldn't get home because nobody to drive the bus. So hopefully everybody is okay there. There's producer Hannah.
What up?
My name is Branden Rathert. I want to bring this up because this is pertinent now. But I was goofing around in the old audio, 2007.
Oh, boy. Yay.
It's not me, but I can pull up some of that stuff.
Has John Marsh heard any of the old school Rathert tapes?
Oh, John, I have.
It's pretty good, John. It's pretty good. I don't think we've fully indoctrinated him into Wake Up in Missouri.
So, John, I'll let you pick here because we're running out of time before we get into the Gary Nolan show. He's here about 15 minutes from now. I want to maybe try to sneak in some leftovers before 9 o'clock so we can hear what the hot story of the day was on CNN, February of 2007. And I just happened to hang on to it because it really is still pertinent to a big story that's been happening today. Or, let's see. Oh, or we could do news. Me doing news 1992.
Yes.
Should we do the mixtape, Hannah, or the news? Because I got all kind of Valentine's Day remix.
I don't know. The news is pretty good.
The news? Okay.
Because it was you actually trying to do radio, which is what you do now.
All right. Here's 1992. That's 30 years ago. Oh, my God. Here you go, bud.
Good morning. It's 7 o'clock and 68 at KNVE 103 St. Louis. I'm Branden Rathert, and here is the latest news.
Here's the latest news. All right, there's more.
Democrat Bill Clinton is celebrating an important victory in his presidential bid. Clinton's biggest victory came in the New York primary. He also added wins in Wisconsin, Kansas, and Minnesota. Clinton now has more than half of the 2,100 delegates needed to clinch the nomination. Jerry Brown says
Jerry Brown is a name we haven't heard for a while. Right. Moonbeam Jerry Brown, man.
He will continue his campaign.
He'll continue his campaign.
It just doesn't sound anything like you, really.
No, that's what I sounded like then. Let's see.
Before puberty.
Yeah, before I had puberty at the age of 45. Here's the commercial. John, did you ever have a car phone? Absolutely. Yeah. And you needed to know where to buy your car phone from.
Call-in contest. I'll bet a lot of times, though, you're in your car, you know the answer to the question, but you can't win because you don't have a car phone.
I was hearing commercials for car phones, man.
Why didn't you just pick up your cell phone and dial?
We didn't have them then. You had bag phones, car phones.
Custom Communications will help you win. Call Custom...
Help you.
Communications at 432-8484 to see what kind of car phones they have that will suit your needs and budget. Don't get caught in your car knowing the answer to our trivia.
Knowing the answer is 1992, man. It's crazy.
Question, and not being able to win because you haven't called Custom Communications at 432-8484.
That was my big selling point. Hey, you could win a contest here at the radio station, but don't get caught in your car without your bag phone.
Happy birthday to saxophonist Kenny G today. He is celebrating his 42nd. And this is his 1988 hit Songbird on...
John, you're next. You got to bring in some old mixtapes one day, bud. We'll hear some old school John Marsh. Coming up, I love you, brother. Coming up, about 5 minutes from now here on the show, we'll do some leftovers, some things we didn't get a chance to get to.
We're starting something a little different today. It's a new segment that updates the initial official version of the story once more facts come in. It's a form of journalistic accountability, and we're going to call it Upon Further Review.
John Avlon from CNN is full of it. So they're doing this new thing on CNN where they say, hey, we're going to look at this story and look at it. The story that spawned this particular segment that they're doing, I don't know if you've heard about this, but apparently a Duke volleyball player at BYU and one of the black volleyball players is saying, oh, my God, there's somebody in the stands saying racist things at me, and I was being heckled and all this, and BYU took action. They booted the dude, the dude who was accused falsely, as it turns out, falsely accused of doing this stuff. They, by the way, lifetime ban from the stadium and all that. They've rescinded all of that because absolutely none of this happened. They've talked to all kinds of people. There's video. But the pompous way in which this is handled.
We're starting something a little different today. It's a new segment that updates the initial official version of the story once more facts come in. It's a form of journalistic accountability.
It's a form of journalistic accountability. That's BS, because what got them in trouble in the first place is the lack of journalistic accountability, because we see it all the time. Somebody gets a story. Jussie Smollett, that's an easy one. Recent, was it 2 years ago in Kansas? I think it was K-State student said, oh, my God, look what happened to my car. My car was vandalized, and all the national news outlets, they run with it. Coming to find out it isn't true. So it's taking another look at the story after all the facts have come out. But see, if you had journalistic integrity in the first place, you wouldn't hype these things that oftentimes turn out to not be true. It sounds lofty, but they're not. They're full of it. Welcome into the show. My name is Branden Rathert. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Before we get into the Gary Nolan show, a couple of things that we're going to be doing. I do want to let you know tomorrow, Holly Rader is joining us on the show, state senator from southeast Missouri. Obviously, we'll talk session a little bit. I don't know if there's anything new that she can add to what we already know regarding special session. And here's one of the reasons I have much respect for Holly Rader. She's been on the show, but she doesn't necessarily rep immediately where you and I live here in mid-Missouri, but she's come on over the years. Here's what I appreciate about her. I was against the prescription drug monitoring program, and she's one of those people. She'd come on, and we could, talk about it. And this was her baby. And I'd say, Holly, I don't think it's a good idea. And, well, okay. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Jefferson City Councilman Ron Fitzwater yesterday, who's involved with pharmacies, and we were kind of having this same conversation, not about the prescription drug monitoring programs, but being able to have conversations with people, even though you disagree with them, to have those conversations and, do it politely. More often than not, nobody's going to change your mind, and good chance you're probably not going to change their mind. You agree to disagree. Move on. What do we agree on? One of the things we agree on is personal stuff. Holly is one of those folks, she was born into some challenges. She faced a lot of challenges that were not her doing. And what she's done today, she's put this in a book called Cinder Girl. She's joining us on the show tomorrow. I think she's going to be in studio a little bit after 8 o'clock here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers. Enjoy.
All right, some of the things that we did not have time to get to on the show today. I did want to bring this up as I was going through the old audio. February 2007. I'm a ski bum and still doing some talk radio, KBOI, Boise, Idaho, and saw this exchange on CNN and wanted to bring it back up because it's pertinent today. This is on CNN, February 2007.
How would you fix the Department of Homeland Security? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com. Or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Is Anna Nicole Smith still dead, Wolf?
Yes. We're going to updating our viewers coming up shortly.
So Jack Cafferty, this is right after Anna Nicole Smith. And I don't know why they went non-stop coverage on the death of Anna Nicole Smith, and Jack Cafferty, who could be cantankerous at times, said, Wolf is, and he's being facetious. He's making fun of his own network points. He says, Wolf, yeah, she's still dead. As a matter of fact, we're getting you updated. It's crazy.